Let's get into something that most men never figure out until it's too late. Picture this. You pour everything into someone, your time, your energy, your resources, your attention, and yet, despite all of it, the loyalty you were expecting never comes. That sting is real. And here's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath it. The way men are taught to think about loyalty in relationships is fundamentally wrong. The instinct to sacrifice more, to prove more, to give more in order to lock in her loyalty, that instinct is working against you. The harder you push to demonstrate your worth, the more you accelerate the very outcome you're trying to avoid. So, what's actually going on beneath the surface? It comes down to one foundational truth that changes everything once you absorb it. A woman's loyalty has nothing to do with what you do for her. It is entirely rooted in how you make her feel. That might sound like a small distinction, but it is the difference between building something lasting and spinning your wheels in confusion for years. From the time most men are young, they absorb a particular story about how relationships work. Be generous, be supportive, show up consistently, do more, give more, prove that you're worthy. And so they do. They invest heavily, pouring in time, money, emotional labor, genuine effort, fully convinced that this is the formula. And for a moment, it seems to work. She appreciates the attention. She enjoys the gestures. The relationship feels warm. But underneath that warmth is a trap that most men don't see until they're already caught in it. Appreciation is not the same thing as loyalty. Comfort is not the same thing as desire. These things can coexist, but they are not the same, and confusing them is costly. The first deep psychological truth here is that women attach emotionally to experiences, not to tallies of effort. It isn't about the volume of what you contribute. It's about the emotional quality of what she feels when she's around you. You could be the most attentive, most generous, most present partner imaginable, and if the emotional experience she's having isn't alive, her attachment will quietly dissolve. And this explains something that baffles a lot of men. Why do some men who give relatively little seem to hold a woman's attention completely, while other men who sacrifice everything still end up replaced? The answer isn't luck. It isn't unfairness. It's psychology. Female loyalty is anchored to emotional experience, not to a running count of actions taken. Here's where it gets even more specific. Women are not loyal to what a man does. They are loyal to how a man makes them feel about themselves. This means that the path to loyalty isn't found in a longer list of sacrifices. It's found in becoming a certain kind of man. And when you begin overgiving out of fear of losing her, you are communicating something loud and clear, even if you never say a word. Fear is not attractive. Desperation is not attractive. When a man is constantly trying to prove his value, he is telegraphing that he doesn't already believe in it. Women pick up on this signal even when it's completely unspoken, and once they do, attraction starts to erode. Most men think that doing more will secure the connection. In reality, it creates insecurity, and insecurity is what drives women away. There's another truth in here that a lot of men resist hearing. Women don't walk away from a man because he's unkind. They walk away when he becomes emotionally fragile, when he starts reacting instead of leading, when he craves reassurance instead of setting the tone, when he over-explains himself rather than holding his ground. That shift doesn't announce itself. It creeps in. A man who was once solid and self-assured starts asking more frequently if everything is okay. He apologizes for things that don't require an apology. He needs constant confirmation that he's still wanted. And with each of those shifts, her emotional connection to him changes. She may still care about him as a person, but the specific thing that made her loyal, that has quietly left the room. Now let's talk about identity, because this is the part most men skip entirely. Women are not loyal to your personality quirks or your track record of effort. They are loyal to your identity. The distinction sounds subtle, but it is profound. When a man's identity is solid, when he knows clearly who he is and what he stands for, the individual actions he takes matter far less. A man who enforces boundaries without anger, who doesn't crumble emotionally when things get tense, who doesn't go chasing validation, that man radiates internal value, and internal value is what generates real loyalty. It's the man who doesn't sprint after every sign of approval, who isn't perpetually available, who doesn't take on blame that isn't his. Those behaviors communicate something powerful. They communicate that he already knows his worth. That is what draws loyalty out of a woman. Contrast that with a man who is forever seeking approval, emotionally dependent, constantly looking to someone else to confirm that he's enough. That communicates weakness. And loyalty does not flow toward weakness, no matter how kind the man behind it is. This is the hardest pill to swallow for men who genuinely mean well. They believe that enough kindness, enough generosity, enough doing right by her will eventually tip the scales in their favor. But loyalty is not something you earned through accumulation. It is something you inspire through who you are. A strong identity pulls loyalty naturally toward it. A weak identity, no matter how much action surrounds it, cannot manufacture that same pull. Building that identity begins with self-respect. When you hold your own values, enforce your own limits, and treat yourself with genuine regard, you become someone who naturally draws respect from others. Self-respect is the bedrock of loyalty. Without it, nothing else you do in the relationship will hold. Women stay loyal to men who have a clear direction, who know where they're going, and who don't need someone else's encouragement to keep moving. That's not the same as being emotionally closed off or distant. It has nothing to do with being cold. It means being emotionally self-sufficient. Knowing that your value as a man is not determined by how much you give or how often someone tells you that you're good enough. When that internal groundedness is present, loyalty moves toward you without being forced. One more distinction worth sitting with. There is a meaningful difference between obligation and loyalty, and most men collapse them into the same thing. A woman can feel obligated to you. She might appreciate what you've done. She might feel indebted, grateful, even comfortable. But none of that is loyalty. Obligation is a ledger. It's her internally accounting for what you've given against what she's received. Loyalty has no ledger. Loyalty is what happens when the emotional bond and the respect she holds for you are so deep that there's nothing to calculate. When she's staying out of obligation, she's tracking the balance. When she's staying out of loyalty, there is no balance to track. She stays because of who you are, not because of what you've provided. This is precisely why overgiving backfires. The man thinks he's building loyalty. What he's actually building is a sense of obligation. And obligation is fragile. It erodes. Loyalty built on identity and emotional connection is stable. That is the version that endures. There is another factor that most men underestimate: momentum. Women are not loyal to the past version of you. They are loyal to the present and future version of you. When a man is in motion, growing, building, pursuing something meaningful, she feels drawn into that energy. His forward movement creates an emotional gravity that pulls her in. But the moment that motion stops, when he settles into comfort, stops challenging himself, stops evolving, that gravitational pull weakens. Attraction between a woman and a man is not powered by nostalgia. It does not run on what you used to be. It runs on who you are right now and where you appear to be heading. This is why stagnation quietly kills relationships that look fine on the surface. He thinks things are stable because there's no conflict. What he doesn't realize is that she's been emotionally detaching for months, not because of a fight, not because of a betrayal, simply because he stopped moving forward and she started to feel the weight of that stillness. Growth is what sustains connection. When a man is pushing himself, learning, evolving, pursuing excellence, a woman feels aligned with him. When he stops, when he loses his sense of direction, the emotional current between them begins to go still. And connected to that is something equally important. How a man handles setbacks reveals as much about him as how he handles success. When things go sideways, when there's conflict, when loss enters the picture, does he remain grounded or does he unravel? A man who can absorb difficulty without losing his sense of self becomes someone irreplaceable in a woman's mind. But most men respond to difficulty in ways that push her further away. They panic. They try to control what they can't control. They react from a place of desperation. They lose themselves in the loss. Contrast that with the man who can face the hardest moments and still say calmly that he cares deeply but won't beg. That kind of composure is unforgettable. Women are not loyal only to success. They are loyal to emotional stability, loyal to the man who stays grounded regardless of what's swirling around him. That consistency under pressure is what makes a man difficult to let go of. Now, there is something else worth naming. Women don't deliberately set out to test men, but emotional testing happens anyway. She might pull back slightly, create a little distance, become harder to read, not out of cruelty, but to see who you are when there's no reassurance flowing toward you. Most men read that withdrawal as a threat and react to it accordingly. They chase, they over-explain, they flood the gap with effort, and every bit of that reaction confirms her fear. When a woman creates distance and a man chases desperately to close it, he fails the test without ever knowing he was being tested. But when a man remains centered, present, not panicked, not chasing, her loyalty quietly deepens. This is where emotional restraint becomes one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. Not emotional unavailability, not indifference. The ability to stay grounded without needing her to reach back and confirm that everything is okay. When a man can hold his center while she's pulling away, he demonstrates something rare. And rare things inspire loyalty. Now let's name what women are not loyal to, because this is where a lot of well-intentioned men go wrong. Women are not loyal to constant availability. They are not loyal to emotional dependency, to people-pleasing, or to self-erasure disguised as devotion. Those patterns feel generous from the inside. From the outside, they signal an absence of self-respect. Women are not drawn to men who have no separate life, no limits of their own, no personal sense of identity. When a man is always available, always accommodating, always adjusting himself to avoid friction, he is communicating that he doesn't value himself. And if he doesn't value himself, there is no solid self for her to be loyal to. Loyalty requires something real to attach to. Then there is the confusion between love and loyalty, which trips up more men than almost anything else. Many men believe that loving a woman deeply enough, treating her well enough, being kind enough, will translate directly into her staying loyal. But love and loyalty are built on different foundations. Love is emotional. It pulses, it shifts, it rises and falls with feeling and circumstance. Loyalty is built on respect, on admiration, on a woman's sense that the man she's with genuinely values himself. A woman can feel a profound love for a man and still leave if she has lost her respect for him. Love fluctuates. Respect is structural. It holds things together when everything else is in motion. Respect doesn't come from what you do for her. It emerges from how you carry yourself. And when a woman respects you, that respect remains even in moments when the intensity of romantic feeling has quieted. Respect is the architecture that holds a relationship together through real difficulty. But when a man begins to over-accommodate, over-give, or slowly dissolve his own sense of self in the relationship, the respect diminishes. And when respect goes, loyalty follows it out the door. Being too available, too eager to please, too willing to erase yourself, those things don't read as love. They read as a man who needs validation in order to feel okay. Women do not stay loyal to men who are looking to them to confirm their worth. They stay loyal to men who already know it. So what is it, finally, that women are truly loyal to? They are loyal to emotional strength, to self-respect, to direction, to a man who knows who he is. They are loyal to how they feel in his presence, not to a record of what he's done. It is the power of presence, not the accumulation of action, that holds loyalty in place. That emotional strength, that groundedness, that unshakable sense of self, these are what inspire it. If that truth sounds uncomfortable, it is only because it asks something real of you. If you want loyalty that lasts, stop trying to prove yourself into it. Stop attempting to earn it through sacrifice and demonstration. Instead, build something internally. Work on your own growth, sharpen your identity, develop emotional mastery. When you do that, loyalty stops being something you have to chase. It becomes something that simply follows you. This is not a case for coldness or manipulation. It is a case for integrity, for having limits, for respecting yourself enough that others naturally do the same. When you stop looking to her for approval, when you stop giving endlessly in order to feel worthy, you begin embodying the kind of man who generates loyalty without demanding it. The deepest truth of all is this: what drives female loyalty isn't fairness or deserving. It runs beneath conscious awareness. It is primal and psychological, and wishing it were different won't change it. But understanding it will change everything about how you move through your relationships. Women are loyal to strength, not sacrifice, to presence, not performance, to who you are, not what you do. The more you exhaust yourself trying to earn loyalty through giving, the less you will receive. The more you embody genuine strength, self-worth, and clarity of identity, the more naturally she will be drawn to you and stay. This is a shift in being, not in doing. When you stop running after loyalty, you begin attracting it. The moment you drop the chasing, release the overgiving, and start standing fully in your own value, the dynamic changes. She becomes more attentive. Her respect for you deepens. The emotional connection grows roots. Loyalty stops being something you're working for and becomes something that radiates outward from the man you've become. If this resonated with you, share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. These are the conversations most people avoid, but they're the ones that actually change how we love and how we're loved in return.